And so when she goes on camera and says that Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign after the election in which Donald Trump wins all the swing states in the popular vote, I think audiences start to become more cynical about where they're getting their information.
We are back on Piers Morgan Uncensored today with, he's got a panel of guests, including Ana Kasparian, as you can see, and they're talking about Joy Reid of MSNBC getting fired last week. Yes, she got fired, and there was some drama on Twitter and stuff with Megyn Kelly basically laughing about it, and then Don Lemon, Don Lemon, formerly of CNN, getting angry at Megyn Kelly and swearing at her, even though he said he was above all that kind of stuff. So it's brought up a bit of, it's revealed some tensions, it's revealed some animosities, and, these people aren't beyond a bit of drama. So let's get into it here on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
There's her commentary about this, and then Don Lemon responded.
The big news tonight will be Joy Reid's final show on MSNBC. Single tear, white woman tears happening right here, Joy. She was officially fired over the weekend because she's a racist, horrible news anchor with no ratings.
The worst person on television was fired from NBC in the Today Show a few years ago, and that's Megyn Kelly. So let me just say to Megyn Kelly, in my 30-some years as a journalist and my 50-some years as a person of color, go fuck yourself, okay?
I do love the way that Don positions himself as the antidote to toxicity, and then tells people to go fuck themselves. But Anna, look, it's all blowing up. This, I do think it's interesting that MSNBC, having gone all in on Kamala Harris and all out on Trump because of the election result, now seem to be in some kind of crisis of confidence about what they should be. What do you think of it?
Well, I actually think that, the obsession over the conversation on race and race baiting kind of misses the mark on what I think MSNBC is really vulnerable on, and that's the issue of trust and credibility among audience members or anyone who might be considering MSNBC as a news source. So, for instance...
Did she just say news whore? Interesting Freudian slip there.
Kamala Harris did not run a flawless campaign, not by a long shot. Okay, her campaign was very flawed. It did not have a focused message. She was taking advice from, corporate executives within her family, and she moved off of the economic issues that obviously voters consistently communicated through polling they cared the most about. And so when she goes on camera and says that Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign after the election in which Donald Trump wins all the swing states in the popular vote, I think audiences start to become more cynical about where they're getting their information. And so a lot of lies were kind of debunked in the aftermath of the election. And when I say lies, I'm specifically referring to how fantastic the Democratic Party is, how they really have a vision for the future, how flawless Kamala Harris is. Even though the aggregate of polls showed that she was trailing Donald Trump, we kept hearing all of these rosy news reports about how she was doing fantastic. And so I think the Democratic Party and the left in general really needs to have a moment of self-reflection instead of seeking out news content that validates everything that they believe and want to hear. And that's honestly the biggest flaw and downside of the Democratic Party at the moment. And people like Joy Reid, unfortunately, foster that kind of environment that made them think, no, we're killing it. We're doing great. Now, I don't think that MSNBC has learned the right lessons because they're basically replacing Joy Reid's hour with other individuals who are, never Trump Democrats, although Michael Steele used to be the head of the Republican National Committee, but nonetheless, he hates Trump. And so they're going to keep focusing on uplifting Democrats that I think really need to get back in touch with the American people and understand what their genuine concerns are. They're not doing that right now. I think they're looking for other mouthpieces that are willing to just tell them what they want to hear.
Mark, you're shaking your head. Why?
They're also hiring Eugene Daniels, who was a Kamala fanboy from Politico, to go over there and do this. So they're doubling down on stupid. They just, I mean, I think it was said earlier, they're just getting cheaper versions, right? So Joy Reid probably signed her contract when MSNBC was Ascent. It's now flailing and falling apart financially and otherwise. So they're going in and getting cheaper versions of stupid.
Yeah, and it's interesting to watch CNN where Scott Jennings appears as the Republican voice and basically takes on sometimes 3-4 liberals at the same time.
So Ana Kasparian hit the nail on the head there, as far as I'm concerned. She just nailed it perfectly. Yeah, the Democrats are flailing. Of course, they have a few years to get their act together, and we'll see what they do. But I hope they keep going down the same path they've been going down. It's great for the Republicans. And by the way, I'm not a big fan of the Republicans, not at all. I think they're useless.
And often eat some more for breakfast. But it's very entertaining to watch. And Mark, you're shaking your head, but the problem I have with MSNBC, it's all completely one-way traffic. They're just not interested in having anybody on there who differs from the view that Trump's the devil and that's the end of it. Whereas I think what's happening at CNN with Scott Jennings is quite interesting. It's more interesting to watch. I like on this show, for example, as we're seeing right now, to have people with all different voices. The idea you only have one type of voice, particularly when you've just taken a massive beating with that voice in the election, it seems to me just bad business, isn't it?
No. To answer your question, the reason I was shaking my head was because it's simply not accurate what the person before me said. This idea that Joy Ann Reid was saying that the Democratic Party is perfect and that they made no mistakes. And that all the campaigns were flawless. That's simply not factual. Now, I happen to believe that the Democratic Party made tons of mistakes, and I think
that Kamala Harris's campaign was flawless.
Right. So just again, hear me out, and then you can disagree, or we can agree. Who knows? Maybe if you hear me, you may find out you agree with me. Kamala Harris is one of the few people who was critical of the Biden administration's position on Gaza. She was one of the few people, along with Ayman Mohyeldin and Mehdi Hassan last year before he was fired, who spoke out against what the Biden/Harris administration did. She also spoke out against Kamala's response to it. I agree with you that they were too laudatory of the Kamala Harris campaign, and I agree with you that in general, they haven't done a sufficient autopsy of the Democratic Party, much less the Harris campaign, which I think could not have won anyway. I don't think she was a strong candidate, and I don't think she had a strong message to the American people. I suspect we agree on that. Where I disagree with you is that Kamala Harris was not unwilling to be critical. Joy Ann Reid was not unwilling to be critical of the party. I think the problem is that MSNBC in general is a left-wing/liberal, really, organ or political organ. Piers, no, I don't think that is inherently problematic. Donald Trump lost big the last election, and Fox News didn't hire me.
But Fox
they
News
didn't double down and hire more.
Yeah, but Fox News have people like Jessica Tarlov on the 5 and stuff that they will regularly have people on the left to give the other side, and actually it's just more interesting. And that's fine. You're entitled to find Fox News more interesting. I happen to not find MSNBC interesting at all, so I'm not caping for MSNBC here. What I'm saying is that news outlets in general have a point of view, even ones that pretend that they don't. And I don't want to single MSNBC out as if they're the outlier ideological channel and the other ones are straight news. Nobody is straight news anymore. That's true, but I think they're that's true. But I think they're but they're the only ones.
MSNBC just isn't doing it well.
They're the only ones who pretty much never have a conservative, in other words, an opposite voice.
Well, and they're
Well, arguing about whether news outlets have a point of view or whether they allow alternative points of view on their platform in order to give viewers a broader range of opinions, it seems a bit silly. I mean, like this guy saying, I can't remember his name, Mark something. Yeah, I kind of agree. Perhaps even the ones who claim to be more objective definitely have a point of view. They're definitely pushing something, whether it's Fox, whether it's MSNBC, whether it's whoever, whether it's, the Washington Post or the New York Times. They're all pushing something, even when they agree to have dissenting views on. Probably they have these dissenting views on just so they can highlight how good and holy their conventional views are for whatever the outlet is. Just to make them look better in contrast. in their mind, at least. But it's interesting to see, nevertheless. Again, as I was saying earlier, I think Ana Kasparian just really hit the nail on the head. Piers Morgan doing what he does, claims to be, he just wants everybody on. He likes to, I do like his format where he really does get people on who have widely varying points of view. And for the most part, he keeps them under control too. So I do like that. They don't, they do sometimes devolve into chaos where they're talking over each other, but he kind of keeps them, for the most part, under control so they can talk one at a time. Anyway, let me know what you think about Joy Reid being fired. I didn't care. I don't watch MSNBC. I had seen clips of Joy Reid in the past, and yeah, a couple of those and you've had enough. You know exactly what you're getting with her. So in the meantime, like and subscribe. I'm over 6,000 subscribers now. Thank all of you. I'd like to thank all of you who have subscribed. Next stop, 10,000, and I'm planning maybe some kind of something special for 10,000. I'm not sure what, but as we get closer, I'll let you know. So I will see you in the next video.